going on, everybody? Thanks for joining me on my channel, Brutus on Baseball. In this video today, I wanted to do a little bit of an SGC reveal, but not just a reveal. I wanted to talk to you about going through SGC as a grading company and my experience just this last month with them. SGC has always been my favorite grading company to deal with. I collect cards from all the three major sports card grading companies, BGS, SGC, and PSA, of course. And for anybody who's watched my channel a little bit, knows that my collecting design is to have sort of a master set of Hall of Fame rookie cards. So for every player that's in the Hall of Fame, I want to get the rookie cards in a PSA, SGC, and BGS in the highest grade that I can afford. I actually started doing this back in the early 2000s when these three companies actually hadn't all been around for very long. And the reason I started doing it is because I wasn't sure which of these companies would be able to maintain their reputation, their business long term. If one of them goes belly up, I didn't want to have all of my cards put into one grading company. That way I've got a little bit of a diversification, and I'm really glad that I did that. Back when I was selecting in the 2000s, early 2010s, BGS was by far the go-to company for modern card grading. But that's not the case anymore. And so I'm glad that I didn't put all my eggs in that one basket of BGS, because it just wouldn't be paying off the same way as I did with diversifying with PSA, BGS, and SGC. I will say that SGC has always been by far my favorite to deal with. I love the tuxedo look. I love the customer service that they've always had. And for this submission that I'm going to walk you through today, it was an unusual one. So I wanted to get in touch with them. And once again, they more than answered the call by providing me great customer service every time I reached out to them. I've been sitting on a small pile of cards that I've been wanting to send into SGC. And with the recent decrease in prices in September, going to only $15 a card, I knew it was finally time to send them in. Now, the story behind sending in this submission is about a year ago, I sent in 4 1991 Studio Jeff Bagwell rookie cards to PSA for grading. I had never had one of these before. They're really hard to come by. They don't go on sale very often. And the last time I checked, I think the population was only about 20 to 25 of these. So when I sent in 4 to PSA last year, I was blown away to find out that I had gotten 3 PSA 10s out of the 4 that I submitted. So in theory, I got to keep one for my collection, and then I could sell the other 2. But this is where my mind started churning, because I don't have the BGS 9.5 or the SGC 10 of the same 91 Studio card for Jeff Bagwell. When I looked up the population reports, I realized that there's only one BGS 9.5 out there, and there were 0 SGC 10s out there. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to send in all 3 of those PSA 10 Jeff Bagwell rookie cards for a crossover service to SGC. But I put the minimum grade that I'd be willing to accept as an SGC 10 pristine. So I wanted that bright gold label for any of these cards that could cross over. But I knew at the same time that it may not happen. I may not get an SGC 10 pristine, because those are really hard to come by grades. And so what I did is I reached out to SGC. I put a note on the submission form saying that if none of them crossed over to a pristine grade, I wanted at least one of them to be cracked out and crossed over to a gem mint. And that's what made this order a little bit unusual. So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into the results of how it all turned out. Here's the SGC reveal to see what came of the whole thing. And I'll talk through a little bit more of the other cards that I submitted as well, and what happened with that Bagwell at the end of the day. So there we go, the SGC experience. Got the tuxedo sticker right there. And let's see what we get here. There's a number of other cards that I submitted. I think it was 7 in total, including those 3 Bagwell rookie cards. So I'll show you what I got. So there's one of my Jeff Bagwell PSA 10s. No grade on that one. Jeff Bagwell PSA 10, no grade. And the third one is an SGC 10 Jeff Bagwell, the first SGC 10 of a 91 Studio Jeff Bagwell. So they were gracious enough, like I said. None of these graded a pristine gold in their opinion, which is fine. You know, a perfect world would have been at least one of these crossing over to a pristine 10 gold in SGC, but they didn't. Oh well. I got back my 2 PSA 10s that I still have, and I have the first ever SGC 10 of the 91 Studio. So for my master rookie card collection of Jeff Bagwell, I now have a PSA 10 and SGC 10, and I would be looking for a BGS, Gem Mint, or Pristine of this card as well. Now, the next things that I did submit it, I submitted 2 Jeff Kent rookie cards. These are the 92 Leaf rookie cards of Jeff Kent. And the reason why I submitted these is, again, I was looking for a complete set of Jeff Kent because I do think he will get into the Hall of Fame through a Veterans Committee one of these days. Didn't get through the ballot, but I think he will eventually through a Veterans Committee pretty quickly. And when I was looking at the 92 Leaf, I found out that there are no 10s. There's no 9.5s. The best you can get is a 9. So I wanted to submit some of these and see if I could get the first SGC 10 Gem Mint card. So I sent in 2, and what I got is, there we go, SGC 10 for Jeff Kent's 92 Leaf rookie card. I sent in 2, like I said. The other one that I got was a 9.5, so not 2 10s, but I got the first 10, the first 9.5. Can't be too unhappy with that. And then the last 2 cards that I submitted were actually reholders. So cards that were graded by SGC before. I have talked about this before in other videos where I don't really think it's a great idea to send in cards to be reholdered by SGC because between the old holder and the new holder, there just doesn't seem to be a lot of change or difference in the price that people are getting from old versus new. But there are a couple exceptions, and I think one of those are old 96s. 96 was equivalent to mint condition back on their old grading scale. And for any card, especially vintage cards that was graded a 96, I would submit that again because back in that old grading scale, they had 96, which was mint. They had 98, which was Gem Mint, but they didn't have a 9.5 equivalent, which they do have now, but that didn't exist before. So whenever you reholder an old SGC card that's a 96, they will reevaluate it to see if it should be crossed straight to an SGC 9 or over to an SGC 9.5 and get that little bump up. So I would submit some of those old SGC 96 cards to see if it can be bumped. And one of those good examples is an old Eddie Murray rookie card. It was SGC 96 in a really old label, really old slab. And I wanted to see, when I looked at the centering, the edges, the corners, it looked pretty good to me. A little bit off center left to right, but I figured I'd take a chance, see if it might get a 9.5. And I did not get the 9.5 on this one. And it looks great with that new label. And I figured, hey, it is worth a shot to see if maybe it would get a 9.5. Now, the other time that I often would resubmit for reholdering an SGC is a pristine card. A lot like the SGC 98s, which is equivalent to the Gem Mint 10. SGC used to have 100 on their scale be a pristine. And a lot of people don't recognize what a 100 grade on an old SGC card means. They like to see that new gold label with the gold trim all around it. And so anything that I have that has the old SGC 100, I figured it's well worth just reslapping and getting that gold label. So I submitted one of those as well. And that is my 1989 Topps Traded Griffey rookie card. Looking fancy in that gold SGC 10 pristine. So there we go. That is my SGC submission. My shout out to SGC once again for having some phenomenal customer service. Every time I emailed them, I got a response back within a half an hour, giving me updates on the grading process, what the results were showing. I did ask a couple questions too, just to find out from them the other 2 Bagwell cards, would they have also crossed over to SGC 10 Gem Mint? Because I wanted to know, how equivalent the PSA 10 scale is to the SGC 10 Gem Mint scale. And the one thing that was interesting was they said that they don't keep or save the grading notes. So by the time they were able to let me know that one of them crossed over, they couldn't tell me, or they didn't want to tell me, I'm not sure which one, whether these would have crossed over to Gem Mint 10s. And that was just a curiosity thing for me, wondering how hard they are on grading PSA 10s, how many PSA 10s out of 3 would have crossed over to SGC Gem Mint 10. And so I don't have an answer to that, and it's kind of disappointing. I would love to actually know. I'm sure they have various reasons for not keeping grading notes, but it's just one of those things that I think it would be a little bit more transparent. The grading companies did have grading notes to let you know why something got bumped down, why something didn't grade a 10 or a 9 or whatever you think it should. And then the other thing that I would note too, with this one, these stayed Gem 10 mints and PSA. This one, I do have the cert number, certification number from PSA on this one, and I'm going to email PSA and let them know that the old PSA certification that has been crossed over to SGC is gone, because it's important to me to try to keep as much information on the actual population of these cards, with how many people are cracking and crossing over to other grading companies. Those population reports of graded cards are way out of whack, I'm sure. And anytime that I cross something over, I'd like to be able to do my part to inform the company that that card is no longer in their case. And I'd like to make sure that the population is reflective of that. So there you go. There's my plug for SGC. Great customer service, like I said. Got the first ever SGC 10 Gem Mint 91 Studio Bagwell. First ever 92 Leaf Jeff Kent Gem Mint 10. And then 2 reholders. Got the SGC 9 Eddie Murray and the SGC 10 Gold Pristine Griffey rookie card. So there's the results. Once again, thank you so much to SGC. I couldn't be happier. Thanks so much, guys, for the service that you do provide the community. And I'm really happy to see that you guys are getting more and more of the market share to make it a competitive grading market out there. For everybody watching, if you haven't given SGC a shot, I definitely recommend it from the customer service side of things. And I always think that their grading is top-notch as well. Thanks again for joining me on my channel. Until next time, keep talking baseball, and we'll see you around.